Hello and welcome back to the Acceleration Netcast. In this special episode, we're not so much going to be trying to solve a specific problem. We're actually just going to be trying to give you a general flavor of what Power Query is and why you might want to use it. So if you've seen some of my other videos, you may have seen me sort of do some tricky stuff with it, or maybe you haven't. Maybe this is the first Power Query video you've ever seen, and you just want to know, well, what is the thing and why in the world would I want to use it? Well, here's an example of why you might want to use it and how it might be helpful to you in your job. So I'm going to Alt-Tab over to this other workbook. Let's say that every month I get a workbook in my inbox that looks an awful lot like this. And so what I've got, this is data from my lemonade stand. Let me shrink this down a little bit here. And I've got my sales for all my different stores, and those stores are broken down by area, and they're also broken down by region, and you've also got it broken down by month. And this is great. If I'm a decision maker, this is kind of a nice thing to look at. I could sort of see at a glance how my stores are doing and sort of look things up pretty easily, and that's nice. But if I want to do some more advanced analysis on this, I can't really do it because what I really need is tabular data, and this is not really tabular data. So I could write a VBA script, and I have written a VBA script, to convert a worksheet a lot like this into tabular data, and it kind of works, but boy, it's really unstable. You have to know VBA, and it'd sure be a lot better if there was a faster, easier, better way to do it. And there is, and it's called Power Query. So why don't I show you how you could solve this problem with Power Query. So I'm going to Alt-Tab back to my other workbook. I always like to keep the data that I'm working with and the model separate. So I'm going to go to my Power Query tab if you're not already there. I'm going to click on From File, From Excel. So that file is Lemonade Stand 1, because this is data from my lemonade stand. And I'm going to click OK. And when I do, it's going to say, hey, here's your Excel workbook. Which sheet has the data? Well, it's this first sheet here, and if you glance over to your left, you can see a preview of it. So I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to click Edit. And this is going to open up the Power Query window. So now you see something that looks a little bit like the workbook we were looking at, but it's different, and it looks more like something you might see in Microsoft Access or some other database program. This looks like a table, but it's not what we want. This is clearly not like a finished product. So, this Brian's Lemonade Stand stuff, I don't want that. This report 2732 and when it was executed, I don't want that. Maybe I want to use something else for it, and in an advanced video, maybe I'll show you how to do that. But really, the first things I want to do is get rid of it, and I just want to clean this whole thing up. So let me just show you how easy that is. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these top rows because those aren't data. So I'm going to go up to Home, Remove Top Rows. It's going to ask me how many would you like to remove. I'm going to click 2, click OK. Okay, now when I do that, first off, you'll notice that it actually removed the top rows, which is good. It's useful when buttons do what they say they're going to do. If you come over here to Applied Steps, what you'll also notice is it's added this step here. So when I'm doing these things, it's actually keeping track of the steps that I'm using. So I could sort of travel forward and backwards in time and what's in my query. So first I load the workbook, then I load the worksheet, and then I take that worksheet and I remove the top 2 rows. All right, well, let's also remove... Oh, not that one. I want to remove the bottom rows. So I don't really want this report 232. I don't want when it was executed, and I don't want this row in between them. So I'm going to remove 3 rows. Okay. So far, so good. Pretty easy. Also, the names in this table, it's not column 1, column 2, column 3. It's actually line, region, area. So we can just use the transform used first row as headers transformation. I'm going to click on that, and notice once again I've added this step, first row is headers, and I've let me go back and forth. I've taken the items in line 1 and I've promoted them to headers. They're now actually headers. Good. This is looking a whole lot closer. All right. So the next thing I want to do is these nulls. I don't want them to be nulls. I want them to be 0. So I'm going to shift click. Let me see. Maybe I did that a little too fast. I'm going to click up here, and I'm going to shift click over here. And I guess I could select all the months, but this will be fine for just now. And I'm going to go to Replace Values. I'm going to replace Null, which is a little confusing the first time you do it, but it works just fine. Null just means empty. There was nothing there in the worksheet. And I'm going to replace that with 0. I'm going to click OK. Great. Now I've replaced it with that. Let's see. I'm also going to shift click these guys right here, and I'm going to change this without getting too technical. It's instead of doing 0 as the number, it's done as a text string, and I don't really want to modify the script code. I'm just going to do it this way by going change type. We want decimal number. There we go. So now these aren't the text string 0. This is actually the number 0. Great. We're closer still. The year-to-date data, I don't care about that, so I'm going to right-click on it and click Remove. Great. We're looking even closer. So here, where I've got it sort of grouped out, this is nice when I'm looking at it, but when I convert this into tabular data, I want this west to come all the way down, and I want east to come all the way down, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to shift-click on both of, well, I'm going to click on this column. I'm going to shift-click on this column to select them both, and I'm going to go fill down. So anywhere there was a null, it's going to take the value from the nearest non-null above it. Great, so we're looking pretty good now as this sort of final coup de grace, and this one will save you a lot of time as opposed to trying to do it via VBA. I want this data and I want to unpivot it. Well, hey, look, there's a button there called unpivot. Check this out. Click on it once, boom. Now I've got the data how I want it. And there's a whole other host of transformations that I can do on this data, but really, this is probably close enough. And if you'll see, I can always sort of travel backwards and forwards if I want to see what the different steps are. But here's what the finished product looks like. And when I'm all done with it, I'm going to go to Home. I'm going to click on Close and Load. And I'm going to go ahead and load the data into my workbook. All right, now that's pretty darn cool. It's sure a whole lot easier than VBA. Where it really comes in handy is next week when I get that same, or not the same workbook, but the same report in my inbox, but it's updated with new data. At that point, what I do is I shift or right-click on the query, which you can get to once you click on the table. Since this is a query table, it's going to bring this guy up over here. I'm going to right-click on it. I'm going to click Edit. And I'm going to go back here to my first step, and here where it says Source, I'm going to click on this little gear icon, and I'm going to change the properties of that step. And I'm going to click Browse, and rather than clicking on Lemonade Stand 1, I'm going to click on Lemonade Stand 1 Day 2. This is the new updated workbook. I click OK. I click OK. And what's happened is it's changed just a step, but because of the way this is set up, all these other steps that I've introduced are going to work on that new workbook, and I'm going to end up with the product that I want now with updated data. And so now I could just click Close and Load again, and boom, suddenly in a few mouse clicks, I've updated my data very, very quickly without all the hassle of trying to figure it out with VBA and all these sort of error handling that comes with that. Okay, well, boy, there's a whole lot of things I could show you about this, but I just wanted to give you a taste, and I think maybe you've got a taste. And so I do hope that was helpful, and I will see you next video.